All right. Welcome, everyone. I know it's Wednesday. I normally stream on Tuesdays. But I could not get everything sorted last night. I was having some trouble. And it was driving me crazy. So we got it figured out today. And we should be good to go. I think the camera's set up and ready. I've got a second angle I'm working with today. On TikTok, you should be able to see it already. And then for YouTube and Twitch and Facebook, this is our other angle. So, hello. Super up close. My goal is to be like, look, this is what we made. Or look right here, this is the thing I'm talking about. Obviously, this will be out of the way. But we'll see how that works. So it could be terrible, could be great, who knows? But we're gonna go with it. So today, this last piece finally came in. This bad boy right here. It took so stinking long for it to come in, but it's finally here, which is great. So we're gonna work with this today. And I think I may flip this camera real quick. Let's see, if we do this, that did absolutely nothing for us. Awkward. I was gonna flip this guy here. So let's try that again. There we go. That's what we wanted to do. Okay, we're back. That way I can hold things up like this, and it's the same way for both of us. So I'm not messing with my head the whole time. So I wanted a green lens to match the green shell that also had the Triforces. Unfortunately, this one is not like holographic, like this one is in here. So we'll kind of test it out and see what it looks like, and then we'll decide whether or not we think it looks good. If it looks terrible, then we will use the black one, but we're going for like a Legend of Zelda green, gold feel. So we'll see how it turns out. Let me set this up and then get the chats up so that I can see what we're doing. All right, so that looks good. We'll drag that over here. Yeah, I like to have these up so that I can see if people are commenting. And if they're like, wow, this guy is the worst, I'm never gonna watch him again. I should pull up. Don't mind me as I grab my keyboard. Let's see. Let's pull that up and immediately mute it because we don't want to hear ourselves. Okay. Let's go to this. I normally have this all set up and ready to go, but I was a little behind and I didn't want to start too late. So we're just gonna bear with me for a minute if you can. If you have a second to just hang out and chill, then just hang out and chill. Because that's what we're doing tonight. We're just hanging out. Hopefully you can hear the smooth tunes we've got going. And I guess I should pull up old YouTube too, right? Let's see if anybody's over there chatting me up. All right, I gotta work on my thumbnails because that is a bad one. You can't even read what I wrote on it. Oh no. Let's see, this is what we're looking for here. And this, pull this up, pause that, minimize it, toss it over here, and now we're all set. Okay, so if you've got some chatting to do, then I will be able to see it here. Cool. Okay, so let's hop into it. I don't want to keep you waiting too long. now that we've got everything all kind of sorted out and ready to go, we should be all set. Move this keyboard out of the way here. And let's open some stuff up, shall we? So I have a already disassembled Game Boy here, but I wanted to do the full process today. So we're gonna open up this one that is beat to heck and gross looking. This is a perfect time to use the close-up cam. Get it together, Dan. Yeah, so this thing is all types of beat up and discolored and gross looking. So we are going to take it apart and see if we can put a new shell on it, give it a new look, and fancy it up. All right, so we'll move it aside for now. Move it up here. I'm gonna open this up here, and I don't want to use the screws that this came with, so we'll try to use the screws in the original Game Boy. We probably won't use these either, so we'll toss those over for now. It comes with a lens and a little sticker, but the lenses that they come with are actually plastic. So it's super unfortunate that this is plastic, because it makes it super easy to scratch, and I think doesn't look as good as glass, whereas this is glass. So it should look better, feel better. Obviously glass can scratch just like plastic can, sometimes even easier, but I prefer glass over plastic. Let me know if you have a different opinion, if you think plastic lenses are better or not. Alright, these are the Garbo screws that come with this, but what we do want out of here is the LED indicator. It's really just a piece of plastic, but it is super important. This little guy here, if I can get it into focus. I'm locked into manual, so it won't zoom in and out on us. But yeah, this goes into the Game Boy. It gives you the little color, if it's red or green, depending on where your battery is at. All right, so we'll move all that aside. We've got the shell here, which is good. We're all set there. We'll set this aside as well. And then what we need is what we've got here. All right, so tonight we've got a couple different things we're rocking here. So we've got a USB-C rechargeable battery. We've got some gold buttons that we're going to use, so we use those. And in case we want to use this lens, we'll use this lens. This is the normal glass one. All right, and then this I use for fitting to make sure that the ISP replacement screen is correct, which that is the last thing we need, which should be behind me here. If I can find it. Actually, it's in a bin. Let me grab it real quick. I have been trying to organize, which in turn makes me unorganized. All right. It should be in here. So many tiny parts. I've really been trying to keep them all straight. Aha, here we go. All right, so that is our ISP screen, and this is for an SP. I wonder, I shouldn't have this. There should be another thing, maybe it's in there and I'm just not seeing it, because there should be a attachment, a PCB board for that. Once again, being organized makes me disorganized. So, I guess the moral is never organize. All right. Okay, so this is something we don't need. This is something that we do need. We're gonna open this up. Now it comes with these cables for soldering, which I don't use because I don't solder, unfortunately. Okay, this is a little insulation we'll use, and here's the PCB that this uses. I believe this is going to be the 40 pin, which will be this side. There is a version that uses 40 pins for the ribbon cable, and then there's a version that uses 32 pins. And I believe that our Game Boy is a 40 pin, so we'll use this side. All right, so we'll set that aside as well. And then here is our screen covered. I may lay down a little bit of marker here on clear shells, like this green one that we have. That's kind of like a translucent. The light from here often ends up shining through the shell, because this is where the light doesn't necessarily come from, but there isn't a screen here. It's the brightest part is the top and bottom corners, and it shines through the shell. I don't like how that looks, so we may put some marker down on it so that it doesn't do that, or put some on the shell. We'll see how we're feeling later. All right, so we'll set that aside as well, and then this is how we stick it in the shell. Okay, so we got this, we got these. We'll leave all these wrapped for now because we gotta open this up and it's gonna make a mess. And I'm trying to keep it a little more organized on my desk than last time, because last time I made quite the mess. So we're gonna try to avoid that this time around. These are tri-wing screws. So we need a tri-wing. Let's see if I can show you on here. Whew. Even on here it's gonna be hard to see, but it only has 3 instead of 4. Like a Phillips head has 4. And these are all types of crusty. Because who knows the last time somebody used this. Could have been a lifetime ago. I try to find these at yard sales or thrift stores. Sometimes online I'll get them. It just depends. Sometimes I buy broken ones, because the broken ones aren't necessarily always broken. It's just someone that doesn't really know how they work, or doesn't have the time to like clean it up. And then there's one more in the battery cover here, but they trick you for some reason. I don't know why they do this, but in the battery cover, it's a Phillips head. So you have to switch to a Phillips head to get this guy right down in here. It's unfortunate that they do it that way, but it is what it is. All right, and then these normally would just pull apart, right? Like that. If I can get it, it seems to be stuck. We have a little left in the top screw here. There we go. All right, so it separates like that. You can see it's already super dirty in there, which is a big bummer. So we'll take these out, set those aside. We'll actually put them somewhere different so we don't get them confused. All right, and we've got quite the dirty setup here. There's a bunch of dust down in here. This is real gross looking. And then we're right, this is a 40 pin. So we'll pop that. All you have to do at this point is take it, and I'm trying to do it so you can see it on camera here this time around. And you just gotta pop these forward. There's little brown tabs here. Just push those forward on each side. Once they're both forward, you can actually pull this out. But we'll leave it in for now, because what I like to do is I just unscrew the board, because there's a couple now also Phillips head screws in the motherboard that keep it attached to the plastic. And that ribbon cable is what keeps it hooked up to the lens. Oh yeah, you can tell these have not been taken apart, because they are all types of stuck. There we go. Yeah, I don't want to strip these screws if I can avoid it. Can't always avoid it, but we try our best. Looks like there's only 2. Sometimes there's 3. All right. So then you just lift this up like so. And then we'll just pull straight up because we've already unhooked the ribbon cable. And there's our Game Boy. All right, so these are the membranes. And the buttons are still in. And then this obviously is adhered to the shell plastic. So we'll leave that how it is. Sometimes I will sell like these original manufacturer parts. This one's in such rough shape. I don't think I'll do that. I don't really want to sell this to someone. It's just so gross looking. But we'll see. Sometimes I take the stickers off. Who knows? All right, let's set that aside. And let's pop back up from the top side here. Okay, so this is what we've got. All right, one side, we've got our speaker here. And then this is obviously where the cartridge goes. And we've got gross dust, and I don't even want to think about what else is inside this thing. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll take a little alcohol and, you know, wash it down. What we're going to do today, though, is going to be a little loud. So sorry. But I've got a kind of an air compressor here. So we're just going to... nice and quick. Sorry for that crazy volume that I'm sure just deafened everybody watching. But that just gives us a little bit of the dust out of here. I might still wipe this down since we have it out. And I've got my stuff right behind me. But I just take a little isopropyl, put it on a paper towel. And you don't want to go too crazy with this, because even these 90% ones that I have, they still have a little bit of water in them, so you don't want to get too wild. But just trying to get a little bit of the dirt out of these. And sometimes that's really all it takes to fix a Game Boy. It's a little isopropyl alcohol, because the pins either aren't connecting on the cartridge or between connectors. Sometimes that's the case with the battery. Like battery's not working because your batteries aren't actually touching metal. They're touching either corrosion or whatever it might be. So just give it a little rub down. Cleaning it up. The front here actually doesn't look too bad. These connections are a little scuffed from continual pressing. But we're going to put some new membranes in, so that'll help too. It's kind of crazy to think about, right? The way these work. It's a little insane. What's this board say? 2000? So 23 years ago? Wild. Okay. That's out. So we're good to go here. I have one thing I wanted to grab that I got recently for this exact job. This is part of the reason too why we were waiting, because I wanted to have this when we started. Basically all this is a little housing for 2 batteries, and then a way for us to connect those 2 batteries to the Game Boy. Because when you test out an ISP screen, you want to make sure that it works before you get it all installed. And there have been times where I have not tested it, and they've been broken. So you always want to test it before you install it. But I haven't had the chance to use one of these yet, so I'm excited to give it a shot and see how it works. But basically, it just obviously makes the connection between the batteries and the Game Boy via some little clamps. Okay. So we have our positive and negative. Want to make sure we connect the right ones to the right end here, right? We don't want to be big dumb. So I'm almost certain, I'm like 99.9% sure this is how we go. So we go like that, and then we take our 2 batteries, on the other side of the desk, and we pop these in here, like so, right? And then if we do this, I don't know if you could hear that. Let's see if I can get this closer up. Let's see. Nope, doesn't want to do it. There you go. Hopefully you heard that one. Right, so all that does is gives us the connection we're looking for so that we can test out the screen. So we'll do that now. Let's set this up here, out of the way, and we can disconnect these. There's no reason to leave them connected while we're not using it. All right. So what we have to do here, let's get a close up on this. We have to take the PCB here and connect it like so, and then basically it gets folded behind and would end up like this, and then that's the connector we're going to use. So you could do it this way. I don't like to do it this way because you're pressing down on the screen, so I like to actually just flip it and do it this way. So we're not pushing on the screen, and we're connecting these 2 parts here. Just gotta line them up. You'll hear a nice snap, not a breaking snap, just a little, and that's it. Okay, just like that, and then it gets flipped over and rests like this. Okay, but before we do that, we will get it plugged in here and give it a test run. So the screen, the pins here, they go gold side, so like goes down from this perspective. If we're looking at it like this, goes gold side goes down. So we'll just pick it up like this and slide it in. You could flip this whole thing over like this and make it probably easier. And then you just go in, and same thing as before, you just gotta push these tabs back down, lock them into place, then you're locked in. And I'll flip us back over gently. You don't want to rip this connection here. It's so easy to rip this little connection between the PCB and the screen, so you definitely don't want to do that. Okay, so now we'll come back over here. We'll take these again, right, and we will connect them up. So we have the positive here and the negative here. Let's see if I can show you that on here. You can kind of see there's a little plus symbol there and a little negative symbol there. Right here, dumb. So we will connect the positive here and the negative over here. All right, and then same thing, we'll drop this down and test it out. And there you go. Super easy. Okay. Just gives you the perfect setup that you need. Gives you a chance to test it out without any fuss or muss. The other reason this is going to be good is when we seat the screen into the plastic, we will have it turned on to test its alignment before we use the adhesive, because there has been a number of times where it can be easily misaligned, and that does not look good. It is very strange to try and play a Game Boy with a screen that is just a hair off. Alright, so we will carefully lift these up again and remove. Just like that. Okay, so we'll set this aside for a sec, and now we'll come back to our case here, right? So we got this cool green, looks pretty sweet, and it's gonna look super nice with the gold trim. So basically our next couple steps here are to get the screen lined up. Some of these come pre-cut where they're set and ready to go, some are not. So it can be kind of tricky because you don't always know what you're getting even when you get it. So sometimes they'll even say, you know, oh, you don't have to cut anything, it's ready to go. And sometimes they're like, even though they say that, you do still have to cut stuff. And this looks like it's already set. If we just get it in the top corner, we should be aligned well, but it's tricky sometimes. So what I do is I have this lens here that I will just take a little piece of, I have athletic tape. It's the only tape I have on hand. I have like really crazy tape. I don't have any just masking tape. So we'll just take a piece of this, rip it in half here, and then I just do this just to keep the screen in place. And then we'll do the same thing we did before. We'll put the lens in here and rest it in here, and we'll connect it to the Game Boy. And now see, this looks like it's not cut too well over here, which is always a bit frustrating because it'll naturally remove itself from the corner. So we'll have to fix that. So it already looks like, yeah, it's a little off. So we'll have to be real careful when we sit this that it doesn't get pushed out of the corner. But what we'll do is we'll turn this on and I'll show you what it looks like with the lens cover on it. And then we'll be set and ready to go. So if we take our Game Boy again here. Let's see, how do I want to do this? I want to just set it up. I guess I can do it like this. No. I was hoping this would be a little bit easier than it is. I haven't done it this way before. I usually pull it all the way out, but I wanted to try and pre-seat. So we'll see if we can get that to work this time around. So we'll actually just pop this whole thing in. And normally I'd have to put the back cover on and, you know, do the whole setup, but we won't have to do that this time. We'll just connect this up. Be ready to go. Alright. So you can tell our connections aren't the best. So it's kind of hard to tell, but it's a little off on the left here. So we'll have to make sure that it's all the way pushed up against the side on the left side there. But all in all, it's not too bad, actually. It could be much worse. Let's see if I can get this on the close camera here. If I can get it in focus. It's a little hard with where the plugs are. But yeah, it's really important that it gets lined up all the way around, not just on one edge. And it's not too bad, which is good. Which means this is kind of pre-cut and already ready to go, which is nice. Alrighty, so we'll take these off. And we'll move this aside because we shouldn't need that much longer now. And we'll pull it apart one last time so we can put the adhesive down. and let that set while we're doing the rest of our setup here. All right, so we'll pop this guy out, and we're gonna throw a little bit, just a little bit of Sharpie. All you really want to do is just kind of cover up these corners a bit. Parts where the screen isn't actually ever seen, the light tends to come through all the same. And sometimes what you can do is you can get in here and you can color in on the lens or on the shell itself. The problem with this I've found is that you can't quite get into the spot that you really need to. If you had like a paintbrush, you probably could get down in there. But you also don't want really to see a whole lot of black coming through. It kind of looks bad in my opinion. So I try not to do anything on the shell. You could probably put paint on this and that might really help, but I don't want to affect the screen too much, you know? So I tend not to do that. All right, so what we'll do is we'll take this. Actually, we can leave that on for now. So the important thing here is that when we seat this in the adhesive, we want to start it all the way up as far as we can. And this is going to be kind of wonky, and it's going to want to pull it away. So this is a good example of where like it doesn't really fit, even though this is technically an ISP shell and there should be no cutting. See how like if I set this here, it kind of comes up against this, and that issue pushes the screen down into the corner, and there's just a little bit of a gap, but that little bit is just enough to offset the screen and to make it look weird. So you have to kind of force it, which then offsets this. So it's a weird game you have to play, because then this has to be back up here, because this needs to be here for where the fold over happens. It can't be up like this, even though this is like the most natural position for it to be in. So it's a little bit of a game you have to play, unfortunately, but it's not that big of a deal. It's just something you have to think about when you're setting it up. All right, here it is. I was gonna say, where did I put this? I'll switch us back up here. All right, so this is our adhesive. We're just gonna remove around here. Now I do sell these, partly because I like building them so much, and partly because they're so cool that I think if you've ever liked playing Game Boy, that you would like to play one of them. So the adhesive lines up really well with the shell here. It's kind of cool how it already is kind of set up to follow the dots here that you can see. So we will pull this back off and just remove the adhesive from the one side here to start. This is a pretty easy step. I mean, you can mess up any one of these steps, but this one's not too bad. All right, come on. As I'm saying, you can't mess it up. I like freaking can't get this this thing separated. Yeah, you can't mess this step up unless you're me and you just suck at pulling tape apart like an idiot. There we go. You don't want to rip this. I've done that before too, and that's no good. Toss that to the side. Okay. Now we want to line it up. I'm gonna actually line it up with the top part first, because I don't want this overlapping at all with the screen. And then the bottom is a little off. So before it gets all stuck into place, we will fix that. Like so. Nice. Okay, good. And I have some little tweezers here that I use sometimes just to get into the corners and really push it down. Get it nice and cemented in there. It's okay if this is a little off, because the external lens sometimes actually even covers a bit of the internal. Like you can see down here, this white on the internal. This will be the close one here. Oh, not my emails. Please hold while I fix my goofy mistake for my other setup here. There we go. Okay. I've got a vertical setup going too, for the TikTok. Okay. So this one is the button I meant to press because I'm smart. Okay. So this white down here, see how it's like kind of wonky looking? That's actually the back side of the lens right here. So there's no screen you would see here. So it's okay if this is a little offset, like it's a little up. It's not a big deal because this is the other side of that and you wouldn't see that on the other screen. All right. So we want to flip it over and then remove this other side. I was actually just looking at my emails to make sure I didn't just show off anything crazy, but this is my random email, so there's nothing too important going on in there. Most of them are between me and my parents. Here's this file, here's this file. Customer service, drafts. Okay, throw that away, don't need that. And that looks pretty good. It's not too wonky. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll actually disconnect this PCB and I'll seat the board or the screen here, and then I'll reconnect it again. It can be a little hard to connect it once it's in. You'll see in a minute, but obviously you want to peel off this protective cover because you can't do it once it's stuck in there. And people are like, be super careful, don't get smudges on it. I have some stuff that's like great at removing smudges. So if I get smudges on the screen, I can just remove them. All right, so let's start in the topmost corner. As far up as we can go. Make sure it's all the way over. As far up as it will allow us to go. All right, so what we want to do now, before we really get it all pushed in, is we want to connect the PCB again, which is one of the hard parts. Right, because this is where, like, if I push this and it offsets the angle because of the pressure, then we're hurting ourselves. But if we don't test it and it's offset, then we look goofy too. Nice kits will come with spacers. Like if you get one from funnyplaying.com, they'll come with spacers. Those kits are so nice. Because they're already, there's like a gap here and you put the spacer in and it pushes it exactly where it's supposed to go. And that's what like these little tabs are supposed to do in the shell here. But the problem with these tabs, ironically, is that they're never lined up. So you can't see it because my lighting is bad, but there's actually a gap between the tabs and the screen, which like entirely defeats the purpose of the tabs. And we don't want downward pressure offsetting this screen. So we're gonna have to kind of mess with this a bit here. So this needs to go in this way. And we're just gonna hook it in. If I can do that. I can just do it this way for a second. Bring it back on the camera in a minute here. So that's connected. And then we'll grab our battery again. And we'll do the same thing we've been doing. Connect these up. And then the key here is to see how well we've lined this up, if we need to realign it. So I'm holding onto the PCB because I don't want to stress that, right? Okay. And that looks pretty good. I would want to throw a game in there and make sure. Still kind of looks a little offset on the one side, but I think all things considered, it is a very good lineup. It looks straight, which is the most important thing to me. All right. Let's disconnect the sketchy power here. There's a lot of strain that these pins are under that they're not normally under. So I don't want to keep it this way for too long. And we will pull this up too, so it's not adding pressure and moving it for us. All right, all things considered, that was a fairly easy screen mounting. I have had absolute nightmares, and I was convinced that that was gonna be tonight. We were gonna have a live screen mounting nightmare. Fortunately, that's not the case. Oh, as I destroy my back. Okay. So this is good. This looks mounted and ready to go. We will set this aside and let that sit for a minute and get good to go. While it's doing that, let's crack open our buttons and membranes. Okay, so we'll set this off to the side here. We'll move this up here. Okay, and we've got some buttons and membranes to open up here. So we've got gold buttons here, which are pretty sweet. And they came with clear membranes, which I think are super cool looking. These actually come with a special membrane. So this one right here is the start select membrane, because their start and select are buttons, whereas a normal start and select membrane is actually the piece that comes all the way out of the shell. So we have a couple options here. I was wondering if like a third color would look cool. So instead of just doing all gold, right? Gold for all the buttons and the start and select, I thought it might be cool if we had the start and select be a different color. So we have this clear, we'll see what that looks like. We have this blue, which I think will be cool, because this is kind of like the Hyrule shield blue. So I think that might be cool. And I got this kind of grayish color. So we'll see how those look. We'll try them all out. And pick whichever one looks the coolest. But yes, like these are gold B. And you know, you're up, down, left, and right. So the one thing we have to do with these is your left and right triggers. They have these little itty bitty metal pieces, and they have to go down in here. There's a gap, and they go down in that gap like that. And so we'll just hold it, kind of push it in like so. Because this is like the spring, right, that bounces you back. And don't stab your finger like I just did. This Game Boy's made with blood, sweat, and tears. All right, and then we'll just do the same thing with this one. Just goes in just like that. Just slides right in. Then you're good to go. Okay. All right, so those are good to go. Push that all up. We have here is our battery. Okay, so this is a 1800 milliamp hour battery. So we'll just peel this open. And then set these aside. I've got a nice pile of trash over here I gotta go through when we're done. And then this is the PCB. So I've tried a couple different company versions of these. I have a lot of these, and the reason is, one, they're the cheapest, because like this set is like $30, which is ridiculous. Of the best one that I bought was $30. This set specifically is $15. So you have to bend these so that they align with the positive and negatives of your internal battery pack. So that's already a little suspect. But the thing that I like about these, beside the price, is they're very small in form. So they fit in almost any shell. And they didn't seat the USB-C recharge port off the PCB. So some companies will like offset it so that it's like raised, but they don't do that because they want you to be able to use this in any shell, which I think is great. So some shells you can buy a battery cover that has a hole here for the USB-C, right? So you could like seat it through the hole. That is nice. I have a couple that are built that way, and I do like that. But sometimes it's really hard to get a battery cover that matches the color of whatever shell you're using. So this kind of eliminates that challenge. So I enjoy using these. These are also from AliExpress. I should post some links so you guys can find this stuff if you want to buy it for yourself. But we'll set that aside for now as well. And then, right, we have our lens here. This is lens 1 we're going to try out. And then we'll try, if this doesn't look good, we'll do lens 2. So let's take this off. Probably should have left the front on, but that's okay. All right. So the one thing about this is the lenses that I've been getting are technically for ISP screens. And they're supposed to be a bit wider because the ISP screen is a couple pixels wider. But I really want to see if I can still use this lens anyway, because there are a lot of lenses that are for the normal screen that are so cool. Like they have ones that have like Latios and Latias here, and I think that that's so cool. There's a lot of different ones that are like custom that I'd like to use in some of my builds, but they're not technically for the ISP setup. So we'll see how this one looks before we actually mount it, and if it like doesn't look great, then we'll have our answer. But I'm gonna try and peel off the internal cover and see how it looks when we line it all up. It doesn't look like this one was cut though. It might be. There's like a line, but it's not very clear. I don't want to peel off the outer edge, which is what's happening, because then it's just going to be the adhesive around. Yeah, it was definitely not cut, which is a bummer. We may use this as a sacrificial lens if it doesn't look good. Let me grab a game so we can test this. Let's see. I will just grab whatever I have over here. All right. We've got Metroid, the classic NES series. That should be the same dimensions as any other Game Boy game, so we should be fine. So we'll use that to test it out. It's just what I have at hand over there. Okay, this should be fairly solid at this point. Shouldn't have to worry about what this will look like. Okay, so let's take our makeshift lens cover off. And we will We'll go for the full Monty here. We'll just go for the mount. Because there are some ways you can peel it off if you need to. I'm wondering if... So if we take a look at this, this plastic one is a ISP, and it looks like, without really sticking it completely together, it looks like they line up pretty well. Now if we do it the other way, let's see, that way. Okay, yeah, so you can, this is much better way to see it. Okay, so you can see how there's just a little bit of yellow that comes through around the sides. What I really want to do is get this in and see what that looks like and if that is really bad or not. Before we do that though, I want to make sure none of these fingerprints that I got all over this are on the inside, because once we mount this puppy, it is mounted. Let me do this real quick. All right, that should be good. Looks like any dust is from the outside. It's definitely not. There's definitely dust in there. How is this possible? How is it possible? How does dust get everywhere? Can someone explain that to me? I need Hank Green to get on that and explain to me how dust gets everywhere all the time. Okay, so I try to mount these from the top here, because there can still be a little gap. Man, that does look pretty sweet. That looks pretty freaking sweet. Look at that. That is pretty cool, if I do say so myself. It's like a little off color-wise, but not in a terrible way. Because I think it might look weird if it was perfectly matching. But yeah, so we can always get in here and pull this up if we need to. If it, you know, looks terrible and you just whole chunks of the game you can't see. All right, we gotta mount this back on here. I'll try to do it on camera here for you so you can see what I'm doing. So we just get that in there, slide them down. Nice, locked into place. And then same thing as before, except this time we're actually just gonna lock it up here, because there's no reason at this point not to get it all into place, because we're gonna throw this in anyway, right? All right, and then for the last time here, we'll use this. We got our positive. Turn it off first so it's not trying to turn on. Come on. These little rubber ends are not very helpful, if you ask me. Okay. Get that connected. And then same thing here. Get you connected. Alright. Don't want those to touch each other. They don't know each other like that. It's a stupid joke, I'm sorry. Okay. So let's take a look. Game back error. Turn power off. Interesting. Very interesting. I don't know if I tested this Game Boy with an actual game. Let's see. Let's grab some other games here. I snagged this from a thrift store when I was in Japan. It's got Torchic on it. Pretty cool. If you ever find yourself over there, do not buy things from official stores unless there's something you're actually looking for. I say official stores, like thrift stores aren't. Like, this is from a Pokemon Center, right? From 2003. But it cost me 56 cents. So if you go to the Pokemon Center and you find something, it's going to be way more than 56 cents. So go to thrift stores. It's a great place to find stuff. Alright. Am I just being dumb and lining this up wrong? There's no way. Yeah, no. It's like, that's impossible. Okay. Let's try this again. There we go. That's what we like to see. Okay. We don't have any buttons in, so we can't do anything with that, which is unfortunate. So there definitely is a little bit cut off, but it's so minute that I don't know if it matters. Let's get it assembled, and what we'll do is we won't put all the screws in, we'll just put a couple in, and we'll play a little bit, and we'll see how it plays. I don't think this Fire Emblem has a save file on it right now. So we'll have to use one of my Summon Knights, or we'll try something else. We'll give one of these a shot. Okay, let's get some of this trash out of the way. And then what we're going to do is we're going to flip this, because there's no reason to detach this connector again here. Okay, I want to try the blue first and see what the blue looks like with the gold. And if it looks bad, we'll just we'll do all gold, because we may be trying to be too fancy here, doing too much color. But we'll see. We'll give it a shot. Okay, so we got to drop in some buttons here. Fortunately, they have this set up so it's kind of idiot-proof. You can only put the A in on this one, and you can only put the B in on this one. I mean, you can try to put them the other way, but they don't line up with like some internal lines they have here. I'm gonna drop this and ruin it. Okay, so those go in, and then you get your membrane, and that goes in on top. And I might use the clear membranes for the other spots here. I don't think we'll be able to see it through the green, but we'll take a look and see how it looks. All right, and then we have our directions. It's important to have these line up. So you have obviously the directions you're pushing, and then there's these little tabs here. So you want to line those up so that when you push down, you're pushing on one of those tabs. So we'll just do that real quick. And then we'll drop it in. And for the most part, this stuff only goes in one way, which is very helpful. So like this is a good example, right, where it doesn't quite go in because I lined it up incorrectly. So we will change the alignment here. And then lock it into place. Like so. All right. That looks good. Okay, and then the start and select, just slide right in as well. Okay, then this is where it gets a little tricky, okay? Because you want to put your on-off switch in here, and you want to make sure that it's lined up with the correct direction. So we're on off here, which is good. Okay, and then these go into your sides, and they are specific. So you have a little notch here, so you know that the notch goes on this side. And it's actually a little spot for a lanyard like string to go. I've never seen a Game Boy with one on it, but in theory, you could, in fact, put it on a lanyard. And then this one goes on this side, if I can get it to stay in like it's supposed to. Okay, and then the right and left trigger buttons can be a bit tricky because they will want to kind of pop out. So you have to kind of get them locked into place. Some are easier than others. It depends on your shell too, right? Like some shells are super easy, some are not. And then we moved aside our little LED indicator, right? That gets dropped in right over here, like so. Just push that in. Okay, and this is where you're gonna have to do a little finagling because you're gonna flip it and get these into place so that the triggers actually depress something. And then I already forgot that we have to get this up in. The power button's a little weird, so you have to seat it first and then do the power thing. Okay, so then you get these back in their place. So they're actually pressing the buttons like they should be. I think I'm doing this wrong. So if I flip it in my head, this is the right side and this is the left side. So okay, I'm doing it right. I've done a number of times where I've been like, man, this just is not working. And I realize I'm trying to put the left on the right side and vice versa. It's like, well, yeah, you dummy. Of course it's not going to work. You're not putting them in on the right side. Okay, we're just going to leave that for now. We'll get it to go. Oh, nope. There we go. Okay, so that's lined up. And it's in the off position. So you would normally want, and we'll slide it in, because we can just kind of flip this up. You want to put this foam, if it comes with it, in here. It separates the other pins in the PCB from the Game Boy PCB, which prevents any like metal from touching, which could prevent shorts and things of the like, which is important. You don't want any of that. That's no good. Okay, so let's just lift this up for a second so we can get this all locked down into place here. Okay, and then we're gonna put our, the reason I'm holding it, and it's unfortunate for the one screen, but you kind of have to hold it at this stage because the buttons stick out on the bottom, so you have to kind of hold it. So I apologize for the poor viewing angle. Alright. This does not want to go in. Neither of these do. Right and left. Yeah. Second guessing myself. Okay, so we do have the screws that go into the board, right? That's what these two are. So we will actually drop those in. Sometimes these don't work in these custom shells because they're not printed as well. So we'll give it a shot, but it's possible that it won't like them. This is where like you wish you had a third hand because you could just really yeah, it's, I don't even think they have the a hole there. Oh, this one seems like it does. Yeah, no, we're not gonna mess with it. There's enough internal pressure that it keeps everything locked in place. So you actually don't really need to use the internal screws. Obviously, you know, it's nice to do that, but I've found that it isn't a necessary thing, because you're going to be locking the shell into place as is, with enough screws to keep it all tidy. Okay, so that feels pretty good. This looks like the A button's a little wonky, which is unfortunate, but it's not too bad. These really don't feel right to me. I don't like the feel of them. They're not as responsive as I think they should be. For some reason, it's like something's blocking the connection in there. I don't see what is. So let's pull this back apart here, because something feels off. It's like the board isn't where it should be, but it is. Could be that these buttons are off, which would be unfortunate, but it's possible. It feels alright. Oh, we lost our start button. Oh no! Button down! Oh, I got it. Okay. Let's take a look at this together here. Let's take this off too while we're at it, I guess. Okay, so that is... I don't think this side is lined up to where it's supposed to be, because it seems like the button, the R button, is off for some reason. Let's pop that back in there. Obviously, right, that adds a bit of a gap, but the foam on the original is like depressed into the form of the screen. Oh, is it the fact that the button, was it off like that? If that's the case, that's definitely what it was. But I don't think it was off like that. I think it was down the way it was supposed to be. So it looks fine here. And it looks fine down here. It could just be that this is the way that the shell is. Those buttons are responsive, which is good. There's definitely plastic where it should be. Yeah, it's almost like there's something a little off on this side. Could just be the shell. All right, let's try using, let's see what we have in here. These are the ones that came with the shell. Looks like it came with 2 Phillips head guys. So let's try and use those. The other problem with these is they strip so easily, like terribly easily. So if you put them in, it makes it so much harder to then get them back out. So I'm hoping I can use the actual Gameboy screws. Yeah, so see, there's still a huge gap here. I may need to get a bigger sized Phillips head here. Let's see. We want this one, I think. We don't want to strip it, but we want it to be all the way down. Yeah, see, it's already freaking stripping. They're just so bad, dude. This is terrible. Oh my gosh. Oh. It's the absolute worst screws that could ever be sent. It's all to save money, but man, is it really worth it? Is it worth saving money if it means your customers don't buy your product anymore? I don't think so. I think if you ask Blockbuster, they would say no. And these are already, there's no way you can see it on camera, but they look to be like a millimeter less wide than the original ones. So there's no way you could fit the original ones in there. All right, so we're just gonna go without them because there's no way. It ain't gonna happen. It ain't happening, Chief. All right, so let's get these locked back in place here. See any comments coming in? It's like we're all empty, which is totally fine. I need to be better about promoting when I go live. Even just promoting the fact that we're doing something. Because if the people don't know, then they ain't gonna come see you. All right, this goes on this side. Because once again, I'm being dumb. And I'm putting them in the wrong sides. Like a cotton-headed ninny muggins. I'm wondering if this isn't pressed down all the way. All right. See if that does it for me. Nope. It's actually, because it's kind of bent already. That's weird. Let's try that. Okay, man. Yeah, there we go. That's much better. Alright, we're gonna do the same thing over here. So we want to bend it out this way a bit so it has some resistance. Because yeah, it just wasn't like, there wasn't the feedback that I was used to on the bumpers or buttons, however you want to refer to them. I'll lock that into place there. And then drop you in to your spot. Just lock that. And then let's lock it all in place. Like so. Alright, I think that blue actually kind of looks sick. It's a nice little extra accent that I think is super cool. So all things considered, I think the color combo is sweet. Let's get it all squared away here. Let's see. So we're gonna try one screw first from the OG set here and see how that works. And if these are no good, we'll have to use the ones that came with the shell. I'm gonna guess these aren't gonna work, but we'll give it a shot anyway. it's already not great. But so I am like, I do have to thread the plastic the first time because it's not threaded. Most of these companies don't send pre-threaded plastic. But I don't think that is all the way down. Yeah, no, I could still pull this back up. That is a bummer. So we may have to use the ones that came with the shell. Huge bummer. I hate that. Because they are just so crappy. So scrappy. They're like made of like tin foil. Well, pre-threading them with a normal screw seemed to actually help quite a bit. So I might do that for most of these. Yeah, because you get to kind of this point, and you're really wrenching it. And it's easy to see how you strip them. But with that first one, it was quite easy. Alright, so there's a little gap here. So I want to get this screw in too, I think. And then with those three in, I think I'll feel comfortable testing it out. Seeing how it works. That'll be good enough to at least test it out. All right, so what I want to do is just toss normal batteries in here. So we'll take these out of here. And toss them in the old-fashioned way. Sweet. Let's pop in one of these bad boys here. Let's get it set up on the close-up here. Interesting. I've had more trouble with this than I'd like to see. That's not good, guys. Because that's not a game problem. Because I've played these recently. To me, that's a power problem. Which is not a good sign. Okay, there we go. That's good. That's good. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right, so let's take a look. Okay, so the screen is a little off, right, in the sense that it's covered, but all things considered, when you're looking at it straight on, right, you can kind of maneuver it a bit. It seems to be majority is on the right side here that's covered up. But it doesn't seem to really hinder. So like you can kind of see it on this side over here. Sorry, not on this side. It's actually on this side. It's a little covered up on that side. This side looks totally fine. It's hard because I wish there was like a test screen that I could pull up, because it's definitely covered a bit on that side. But I feel like with the nature of the Game Boy, with the screen moving, that I feel like it's not that big of a deal. Because this thing looks sick. It looks very cool with the gold buttons. Alright, so I'll have to do some testing on my own time. I don't want to take up the stream here. Just doing the same thing over and over again. We gotta put the rest of the screws in. So we'll get it all screwed into place, and I'll do some testing, get the battery put in, see if that does anything for us. And we'll go from there before I post it online. Because I wouldn't want to sell one that doesn't work right. That's not the goal here. Alright, but thanks for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you thought it was cool and worth watching. Because I freaking like putting them together. I think this looks sick. I think the blue buttons are super cool. A very nice little accent to the golden green aesthetic we got going here. So let me know what you think. Leave a comment if you want to see more of these. I've got a bunch of both that I need to build. So let me know what you think, and we'll go from there. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.